do I age well? It's something I often ponder on. My name's Rosaria Barretto, and I want to find out what it takes to live a healthy and happy life as we age. I'm a clinical exercise specialist, and for the past 5 years, I've worked with nearly 1,000 older adults, and as a result, have had the chance to talk to a diverse range of happy and healthy, and not so happy and healthy people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I want to know what it takes to be able to look back and confidently say, I lived an amazing life. Why not join me on this exploration on what it takes to live happily and healthily and learn how to age well?
Hello, I am Stephanie Daniels. I'm a nutritional therapist and I'm an executive coach. And I'm very intent on making a difference and getting changes happening. So I hold my clients accountable for about 21 days, which is my favourite part.
And why do you hold them accountable for 21 days?
Because I can give them this information. They can read whatever they want. Social media is so noisy. But it's only until you start peeling back the layers that questions come up. And inevitably, questions will always come up on day 5 or 6, around there. And they'll start behaving really well the first 5 days. And then their old habits creep in. Now, if I'm not there for them on day 5 or 6, then it can go to pot, it can derail. And if I'm there to support them through and iron out the knots, and that's where the magic starts happening. I had a client message me on day 5 or 6, like clockwork, and she said something about the food that she was having. She'd been so good up until this point, and then she sent me a text checking in, and then she said, blah blah blah, and I've been really naughty. And I said, the problem with calling naughty food naughty is that we want more of it. So we replaced naughty narrative, gone straight into this, Rosaria, haven't I? We've replaced the naughty narrative with really healthy habits. And it's been amazing. She's made incredible changes.
And what do you mean by bad habits?
Well, we all have them. We've all had them. I continue to crave a bag of popcorn and ice cream on a Sunday night. Some people might call that a bad habit. I now call that balance. She had some bread and some crisps, I think it was, that night, and she was calling them naughty foods. So for her, that's bad. Could be that we reach subconsciously alcohol every night. We think it's an innocent glass of wine just to take the edge off. But the effect that is having to your blood sugar and disrupting your sleep is huge, has a massive ripple effect. But you can only do that by being with somebody in that journey, and 21 days, because it takes 3 weeks to change a habit. So yeah.
Amazing. So I just want to bring it back a little bit in terms of how nutrition can impact what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, what you're going through as you age. I guess your niche and your focus is it women? Do you mainly work with women? Yeah.
Mainly, yeah.
And the main reason I say that is just because I wonder if you coach men who are experiencing kind of menopause with their partners or whatever that could be. Because I have a feeling that this is from my experience from conversations that I've had with other people, is that menopause can cause a massive strain on people's relationships and different things like that. So we'll focus on women to start with. I may ask you about if you've ever come across kind of anyone that's been affected by menopause who haven't experienced menopause, but how it's affected them in their lives. But we may come back to that later. I want to focus on nutrition for now. So in terms of food and what you're putting in your body, without being super focused on the actual specifics, like what is that doing to our aging, and how is that impacting us on a day-to-day basis, but also in the long term? Like when I go through menopause, how is that whole process and that whole time in my life going to impact me in my 80s, let's say?
And yes, I do see men as well. I can see men. And food doesn't care if you're a man or a woman. doesn't care what body you're born in, it cares about the body that it's in. And my simplest way to explain food is this. If your great grandma wouldn't recognize a food that you are putting into your body, then neither will your body. So if you look at the back of the ingredients of a pack of shop bought guacamole versus the back of the ingredients of an avocado, therein lies your answer. And so if we live on shop bought guacamole, and there's all these additives and chemicals to keep it on the shelf for longer that you're ingesting, your body is going to be using that fuel to optimize how it runs in the same way as a car. So it's like having a petrol car, and we're trying to run it on diesel, and it would probably go forward, but it wouldn't go forward very efficiently. And then by aging, we're going onto the motorway and we're putting our foot further down with the diesel, and we're expecting it to run like it did when we were in our 20s. And you see, it perpetuates. And we have this thing called oxidative stress. And our body can be put through stress through environmental factors. So what we think, so it's as kind of nebulous as that, as it were, and what we tell ourselves, what we feed ourselves in the sense of the social media that we're feeding ourselves, and literally what we're feeding ourselves. And if there is a disruption in any of those things, then you are not going to run your car, your body, efficiently. Impacted with that, and we had this chat before we started this, I've slipped my disc. So I am in so much pain at the moment, and I've had a weakness for years in my back, and that's not what this podcast is about. But the reason of me bringing this up is a slipped disc, and anything like that is mechanical. So I can be as virtuous as I like with what I eat and what I tell myself, but I've got a mechanical injury now. And I really noticed how much my life had changed when I started taking some pain medication, and it totally messed with my head. Now, it's very easy for me to go out there and say, be naturopathic, eat foods your grandma would eat. But when there's an injury involved, we have to work with what we've got. So in my case, and I have a lot of clients turn up and they've got this, that, or the other that's mechanical. I can't do much with that, but we have to work with what we've got. So in the context of my slip disc, I was doing HIIT training and loving the HIIT training. I really used to, I like getting a sweat on, but my body can't do that anymore. And when I'm out of this position and I can't wait to go back, I'm going to have to adapt my training. So consistently listening and working with what you've got is also foundational.
Bit of a side question. Why do you think that you won't be able to go back to your HIIT training or that level of intensity that you were training at?
Because I don't know why we're both smiling here, but we're both smiling. Feel like we kind of connect on level. I won't be able to do HIIT because that's what got me into this problem in the first place. So I've suffered with a slip disc or a weak disc since I was in my 20s. And it's got progressively worse. I had an operation in 2020, and
On the disc?
on the
On the
disc,
spine?
on 2020, so 4 years ago, and in COVID, just when COVID hit, and since then, I've had flare-ups every year, and now I'm joining the dots between what I did and what's happened, and the dots line up to the HIIT training, high intensity impact training. That is putting a massive pressure on a weak system. So I'm going to do strength. I'm going to switch it up to strength, and I'm going to get really, really strong. I found a good physiotherapist. I trust her, connect with her. I'm going to work with her to get me back. She's heard me. On the flip side to that, I have women in my office turning up, my virtual office, my real office, and I can see when they connect with me. And I know that I can make a difference in their life because we together join the dots between what they're putting in their mouth and how they're feeling. So they're having this innocent glass of alcohol every night, right? Wine. They're having this innocent bad food, naughty food every day because they think it's fine. It's only a little bit of this or a little bit of that, and that adds up. And then they are having a coffee late at night, right? For example, they think that it's fine, that they can fall asleep with coffee, and they can fall asleep with coffee, but they can't stay asleep. So when they're not staying asleep, they're not digesting, detoxing, and pressing the save button on the day before. So their sleep is disrupted. They're waking up the next day groggy, and they're making poor food choices. So I need help as much as anyone else, but from a mechanical point of view. And in turn, I help my clients with joining the dots between what they're eating, what they're telling themselves, and how they're feeling. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does make sense. So when you started this part of your career, this lifestyle, what made you decide that nutrition coaching and bioresonance was going to be the three kind of main core pillars of changing people's lives and making an impact? Because at the end of the day, my goal for this podcast is to teach and educate people on ways that they can live their lives better and healthier, so that when they get to their 80s, their 90s, their 100s, they feel like they've done everything that they possibly can to maintain their physical independence and avoid as many hospitalizations as possible, right? I love this idea of breaking it up into pillars and focusing on three main areas because it's much more digestible. I'm such a huge believer in coaching. I think nutrition is extremely powerful. I mean, and it literally we can't survive without it. So we need to be feeding ourselves as best as possible. And I feel like I'm on the same level as you in a sense of what you were saying about like the guacamole, right? I always think that like anything packaged is it's just not going to, even if it's without even looking at the back of it, 99.9% of the time, if it's in a package and it's going to last me 3 days, I don't know, or even if it's going to last me longer than that, it's just there's something not right. I do love that whole natural approach. And just thinking about it from my own point of view, well, like how I want to feel, my mental alertness, different things like that. I'm going a little bit off tangent, but
no, I've
yeah,
got you. I've got you.
Talk to me about why these three pillars. I'm also really interested in bioresonance because I have no idea what that means. And yeah, tell me.
I love your tangent. I was with you from the beginning, middle, and end. You had me. I'll tell you why. Because I got into this field, and this is a different conversation when I've got makeup on and my hair's done and we can talk properly. Because right now I'm holed up in bed. But I got into this field after I had a double mastectomy and an oophorectomy. I had that because I had the BRCA gene. So we'll do that on a different podcast. The oophorectomy on paper should have been the easiest to deal with because the double mastectomy was a 10-hour gruesome surgery. But you walk away from having a reconstruction and you've got nice new breasts. Thank you very much. The oophorectomy, they take out your ovaries and you slam into menopause. When I came up for air, I realized that there was no support that I could find that was helpful for me. There was a leaflet, there was HRT, there was nothing that was from a natural point of view. And it was really, really very scaremongering, all the different narrative that was coming out of it. You're going to have dry hair, brittle nails, dry skin, lose your sex drive, etc., etc. And I was 37 when this happened, and I was really, really scared. Just lost my mum. I was in menopause. Like, what on earth was happening? So I changed direction, and I started with nutrition. I started with a 3-year diploma at the College of Naturopathic Medicine, studying nutrition, and we are taught. It's CNM for short, and we are taught at CNM to approach our clients with a whole person approach. So not just looking at the symptom, looking at where the symptom is coming from and why it's there in the first place. What's the body trying to tell us? And as I was going through my training and coming out towards the end, I realized that what we were doing was brilliant. We were giving people protocols, increase this, decrease that, tweak that. But there's an emotional hold over these foods. People want to have the naughty foods, that they call it, every night for a reason. And that led me to the coaching. And so through the coaching, I learned to give my clients that space to see the hold for what it was and see about releasing that hold, what was underneath it. For me, sugar was a very early stage habit. I used to get treated with sugar. I used to get rewarded with sweets and chocolate. So I associated it with comfort. And I took that into my adulthood until I learned to uncover that. So that was great. Those were my first two modalities. But something was still missing for me because I was still fumbling around in the dark. And I was still trying to piece the puzzles together without the light on. And I went and I experienced bioresonance, which is a very non-invasive scan. You hold two metal rods in your hand, and I run a scan on your body. That's it. That's about as invasive as it gets. And I get a report up that says to me, this is a priority for this person right now. So I'll give you an example. I won't give away any private information because I hold that very sacred. But I had a client who came to me. He was actually male, and he had patches in his hair. He was getting alopecia. And through the scan and through speaking to him, I realized that his adrenaline was on the floor. I actually came up the word relax. And I said, how do you relax? And he laughed out loud. And we worked on him relaxing. And it also came up with his motor complex in his stools. And he wasn't going to the toilet every day. So he wasn't detoxing properly. So I tweaked a few things and I enabled him to go properly every day. He committed to relaxing, and lo and behold, slowly but surely, his hair started to grow back.
Wow. Amazing. So sorry, I just want to understand a bit more into the bioresonance. What does the tool look like that tells you? So what did it say? Relax. So I don't understand how it kind of like the information that it outputs. Go into that into a little bit more detail.
So it's the size of a laptop, but on each side of the laptop, there are metal rods. So you will sit there in my office on a cushion, on a sofa like you are now, and you'll just sit there and relax, and you'll hold these metal rods. And you will have come to me for one health concern. So let's say, for example, it's sleep, right? For argument's sake. So I'll do a health questionnaire with you. I'll work out what's going on. I will get you to hold the rods and I will run a scan on you. And your body will might say to me, rose. One of my clients came up with the word rose, and it transpired she'd had rose the night before. Or might come up with all different telltale signs, and it will come up with what's out of balance in your body. Could be that your liver's out of balance. It could be that so that's trying to detox. It could be that your kidney's out of balance. You're not drinking enough water. And I will peel back the layers. And it's from my point of view, you're in your point of view, I guess, come to my side. And what you see is a puzzle. So the nutrition gives me the outline and part of the middle bit. The coaching fills in more of the blanks. And then the bioresonance fills in everything, kind of colors it in for me.
Amazing. So interesting. I'm thinking about all my friends and family that would benefit from this.
Yeah.
We talk about it. Because it's frustrating. I think so many people they have this health wake-up call where they're like, I'm not sleeping well enough. My skin is really bad. My mood swings are out of this world, or whatever it is, combination of those things. And they try every single thing under the sun, and even still they're struggling. They're like, what's going on? Why can't I find a way? And I'm always a big believer, like, start at nutrition, start looking at your food. So when I wouldn't say about a year ago, I did a York test.
I did one recently. What did it show for you? Well, explain what it is, and then I'd love to hear what.
Sure. So it's a blood test. I did the ones, I think I did 3 tests. So it looked at my kind of environmental intolerances and allergens, my food-based intolerances and allergens, and something else. I can't remember. Or maybe it was separate intolerances and allergens, and they were 2 separate tests. But many things came up for me. Oh no, I remember. It was deficiencies. That was the 3rd one. So I was highly deficient in vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was vitamin D. I'd have to have another look. And then lots of foods which I knew, avocado and eggs. I don't like the whites of eggs. I just never have. I always just eat the yolk. Whites of eggs just didn't sit well with me. And avocado, I love avocado, but every time I eat it, my mouth feels itchy. And I still eat it, which is a terrible thing, but I do really love it. Anyway, so they were the 2, like, they're the 2 main things that didn't sit well with me. And then various meats, which was really hard for me because I'm such a big meat eater, and I know that I don't get enough protein in my diet, so I'm always trying to use meat as a way to get protein into my diet. So it's really hard from a lifestyle point of view. But anyway, so I did that, and when I was more aware of what like kind of what was orange or red on my scales, I started to cut that out and be more conscious, and I did notice a massive difference. However, now I haven't been consciously eating, and for the last 4 weeks I'm experiencing extreme bloating, tummy aches at night. I'm a great sleeper. I get about 9 to 10 hours of sleep a night, and it's broken, and I never experienced that before. Well, not at least for the last 10 years. Broken sleep. So I've got these 3 things that are going on. Done pregnancy tests, like looked at all these different options. So it's something I'm still trying to look into. But yeah, I can't remember why I was talking about this.
No, that's brilliant. I love it. I did the York test as well. We're both twins on egg whites.
Okay, amazing.
Which is so annoying when you love egg. And egg is my go-to. It's my omelette. I like scrambled egg. I'm really gutted.
Yeah.
But my stomach is not gutted. That is not gutted. And my stomach is much more peaceful. And I had really bad wind with eggs. And I could never work out what it was. It was almost like a running joke. Just being open and honest here, right? We're all girls. There might be some guys here, whatever. And cut that out. It also brought yeast. Who would have thought it? I live with 2 celiacs. My husband and my son are celiac. So for me, it's like wheat, barley. Yeast came up, cow's milk, and
cow's milk for me as well, actually.
Cow's milk, yeast, egg whites, and cranberry sauce. It was just before Christmas I did it, so that was really annoying because everything's cranberry. But it, and actually York is really good. But your body will talk to you. Your body talks to you, and it tells you what it needs, and it tells you, it's right now. It's saying to you, you know what? We feel bloated. We're not sleeping. So there's something not in balance. And we're talking about aging here. If you want to age peacefully, you have to keep giving that car the right fuel and driving it efficiently. If you go over the speed limit, you're going to get a ticket. You can go over the speed limit and you might get away with it once or twice, but eventually those cameras will catch up with you. So you can eat avocado and once or twice you might get away with it, but the cameras will get you and you will feel that sting. So it's up to you. It's your car. It's your journey. I'm only here to kind of navigate with you. How you age is a bit like your pension. Do you want to? Oh my God, that makes me feel sick. I feel like I should put more in my pension. But but it's it's your money box. Then we have to give ourselves saving grace because I'm laid up here with a slip disc. That's totally mechanical. I know what I need to do and I know what I did wrong. And I'm really sad because I've got so much to do and I don't have time to be on my back. But it just proves to me that I'm human, and I found a practitioner that I trust, and I believe can help me through this.
Yeah, so important. My dog's just started walking around, so we may hear some tap dancing in the background. So yeah, so so my background is clinical exercise, and I think what you just said about trust is the most important part of a relationship, whether it's a nutrition coach, personal trainer, anyone that is there to support you with your health and well-being. Trust is the only way that it's going to work, because if you don't trust that person, you don't really believe them. You don't believe them, then you're not going to stick to their homework. I call it homework if I'm kind of prescribing any exercise or whatever it is. You'd be prescribing maybe tasks or activities or different things like that to be able to build those tools and those healthy habits. So trust, super important, and I think that's going to really impact people's ability when it comes to sticking to nutrition programs and listening to what an expert says. All of those things. So how does nutrition change, or the symptoms or impact of nutrition and different foods that we eat, change as we age? From my understanding, they do, and that's kind of what I was getting to about the York test. Is because I did it a year ago. That was a year ago. For example, if I were to do a York test today, it might show me different results because my body's changed, and I might be intolerant to new things. I might have overcome some intolerances, different things like that. Before, I just thought, if I'm intolerant to it, that's it for the rest of my life. But from what I've been the kind of experts I've been speaking to, and when I spoke to York, because you can have a nutrition discussion, it wasn't great. That wasn't the best thing that I got out of that. But she did say, if you were to do another test, you may have different results. And I guess it's also to do with stress, hormones, all of those other things that impact it. So what's your experience with that, and how is that going to change as we age?
So we're talking about intolerances here. I mentioned about celiac a second ago. Celiac is an allergy, and an allergy, specifically with celiac, you will never change. You will never grow out of being celiac. You are celiac for life. So there is an allergen which will park that. We're talking about intolerances. So your stomach can't tolerate it. So we have a tube from our stomach all the way through our esophagus, our stomach, our small intestine, large intestine, and out. And there's a long tube that goes from top to bottom. And sometimes that tube can have gaps in them. So if you put your fingers together tightly, that will be a tight junction. If you start loosening them, things can get in and out of there. And that's where we get leaky gut. And that's where we can get that big belly. That's where we can get inflammation, and lots of different things get disrupted. If we heal that gut and we maintain the integrity of that gut, so we put those joined fingers back together. I've only got one hand because I'm currently holding the phone, but I'd have my fingers tightly knit together. We would enhance the integrity of that gut, and things would be able to go through, be absorbed and transported through that gut much more efficiently and effectively. And that would lead to enhanced energy, enhanced sleep, enhanced vitality. If you remove the culprits, so in your case, it was avocado and egg whites, that gut will heal and repair. Added to that is hormones. Hormones are, in their simplest terms, chemical messengers. So they go around the body sending little messages. So our cortisol says, right, time to wake up, guys. Come on, let's get ready. Let's wake up. If we are on our phones late at night, we're sending we're sending the message through our hormones that it's time to wake up, but it's actually time to kind of wind down. So you've got a gut that needs repairing. You've exacerbated that with trying to wake it up when it needs to wind down. And then you're stressed because you've got a really bad relationship with, someone at work or someone at home. So you've got multifactorial layers. And then you're going onto the internet, seeing these wonderful lives of people and these quick shortcuts that people are taking to get healthy. And you're like, I need that because Nothing else is working. No one can hear me. No one's listening to me. Where do I go? But if you start with, let's take out the avocado, let's take out the egg whites, let's stop having the caffeine after 12, and let's come off our phone. Let's kind of just be a bit holistic and read a book before bed, right? Just for 3 days, and it makes a big difference. So it's not a linear answer. I don't have a, yes, you're going to be intolerant. It's very bio-individual. And what I would recommend is once you've healed the stress, once you've healed the gut, once you've balanced the hormones, you can then introduce avocado and see how it affects you. And if it's still affecting you, cut it out.
Yes, lots of things to think about.
Yes. Do you see?
So
It's so interesting, isn't it? But it's very complex. It
I love
can be.
nutrition. Yeah, it's so complex. I really love it. Like, I love it for myself. I could never become a nutritionist because I'm a hypocrite, because I know a lot. I know so much about nutrition just from like life experience, talking to people like you, my own research, working with coaches for myself, and I'm not disciplined enough. And I know that sometimes I can be amazing, and I know life is a journey and we go through all these ups and downs. And more often than not, in general, on average, I am healthy, but I'm not as healthy as I could be. But yeah, love it. So interesting. Okay, so I know we kind of came into this conversation thinking we'd talk about menopause and how nutrition impacts menopause, or how menopause could impact nutrition maybe. I think we won't spend too long on it, but I know I get a lot of questions about menopause, and it's something I'm personally quite interested in because I don't know anything about menopause, apart from what I've recently learned from another podcast episode that I've recorded. So in terms of I've already actually discussed in a previous episode how we can use nutrition to manage menopause symptoms. But is there anything else that I need to be aware of? I know you don't have any context to that, but what's your viewpoint and experience and expertise around menopause as a whole, and then how nutrition can impact that in general?
Okay, so when I came up for air after smashing into a surgical menopause, I was in the Wizard of Oz. I was just like Dorothy walking around like, where am I? And there was this big wizard that everyone was talking about. Well, menopause is going to get you. Menopause is going to get you. And if menopause doesn't, then your hair will get you, or your mood will get you. And I was really scared of this big wizard that I was waiting for. And eventually I went on this journey. I followed the yellow brick road and I found the wizard, and I pulled back the curtains only to find that menopause was not scary at all. Menopause was those 3 layers that I spoke about: the stress, the hormones, the food. And when I realized that, and I realized that actually I could make friends with the wizard, and actually I could run Kansas, I set up Life Begins at Menopause. So we know what menopause is in its simplest terms. It's a decline in estrogen, disruption in progesterone, testosterone. But once you realize that you can absolutely take back control of those hormones and optimize them with the right driver, with someone you trust, life becomes clearer and better. And we can go into that in another podcast because I feel like we're going to meet again.
Yeah, sounds great. I'm happy to do that. I feel like I should be writing notes about what we should talk about in our next podcast.
I feel like it will come to you. You'll be like, Steph, let's talk about this now.
Yeah, for sure. Very cryptic, but I do understand what you're saying, and I love how you've explained that. And I do think people are scared of menopause, or they don't want it, or we talk negatively, and there's this huge stereotype around menopause itself, and how it turns you into this monster. But yeah, brilliant. I think this is a good place to stop, and we can get excited about the next discussion, and start kind of delving more into other areas. If anybody's listening that has a specific question in mind that you think Stephanie can help with, then we can focus on that as well. But thank you so much for joining in and offering your words of wisdom.
My pleasure.
And,
I'm so sorry about not being able to be on camera, but I'm going to get myself back to health, and then I'll be with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important. When do you start your physio?
Next week. So
Okay.
I've just got to kind of get the disc back into place. And just to finish, when you say it's cryptic, I'm trying to use analogies that are going to help you understand, and I feel like everyone can relate to Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
My name's Rosaria Barretto, and thank you so much for listening to How to Age Well. If you've enjoyed the podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback means so much and helps others to find out about how to age well.